I've got a bold take on intuition. You may have heard intuition described as pattern recognition, on taking a lot of subconscious information, being able to find patterns in it, and then being able to respond to that intuitively. But here's the thing, I think that does a disservice to the expansive ability of our senses to be able to tune into information that flows not just from our environments, but from the universe. This is not how I view intuition at all. In fact, I think intuition is far greater than we ever give it credit for. Us as humans always want to put something in a box. We want to say this is a clean, neat, and defined definition. But here's the thing. It is never clean, neat, or defined when it comes to energy. And everything is energy. Everything is energy. From the devices we watch this on, to our computers, to our plants and our clothing and our bedding, and everything in our world is energy. So why, when we think of the incredible power of these signals that we have in our everyday lives, whether it's Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or any of the other technology devices we use, do we feel like, oh, it's no big deal? But when we think about our own intuition, our own signal of receiving information through our human system, we put it in a clean, neat, and defined box that limits it. For so long, we've been taught to limit our intuition, to not trust it, to fear it, for us to not even feel like it's possible. I think this is a really disempowering narrative that is put into place for us to not trust. For so long, this was passed down knowledge, but in the world we live in today, it is something that is taboo, often not talked about, and as a society, we're just now starting to use these words like intuition, intuitive signal, coming back to our inner knowing. We're using words like psychic and mediumship and the clear senses. All of this is guiding us back to the thing that we've always known. By being born, every human has the ability to tune in through their senses to both intuitive and psychic information. So here's my bold take on intuition, the one that I really want to share here with you today, because I think it makes a profound impact in the way that we view ourselves, our abilities, and our life. Intuition is, at its very core, a living language with the universe. It is information that we receive from our spirit team, our higher selves, the universe, our loved ones in spirit, to receive information through our senses, not just our 5 senses, but our clear senses, our expansive senses, through all of the senses that, again, we've neatly defined, but I think are truly on a spectrum and blend. When we receive information this way, like clear knowing, we just know something, or having those gut feelings, or having information drop in about somebody and they call you 5 minutes later, we might not have a way to explain this. We might not have a way to put it into tangible form. But over time, when you start to build trust with your intuition, when you start to effectively prove to yourself that this is possible, when you are writing down and logging this proof for yourself, whether it's in a journal or it's in your mind or it's something that you note every time it happens, we actually see just how much of this is happening in our day-to-day experiences, in our day-to-day world. The work I do here and in my practice and in my teachings is all about empowering people to walk back home to their intuitive signal. How do we hear our signal through the noise? How do we reclaim our inner authority, know how to listen, know how this information drops in for us, and reject the limiting beliefs and disempowering narratives that you cannot listen to your signal, that this is not possible? Because one thing I know after doing this work for many years now and studying for over a decade is this: not only is it beyond possible, but it's actually so natural to us, we've just forgotten what it feels like. So our intuition is flowing to us like a river. So when we have something that blocks that, whether it's a narrative, a story, a teaching, a belief that disempowers that, it puts a boulder in the river. And the flow of information never stops. It just has to go around the boulder and find creative ways to get to us. But when we remove that boulder, that limiting belief, that disempowering narrative, oftentimes we come into this concept where we feel the rush of our intuition meet us. This is often part of spiritual awakening, where all of a sudden we are met with these abilities that are so strong. Our body is talking to us, our intuition is talking to us, we're feeling the signs and synchronicities and symbols, and we just can't ignore it any longer. It is too present, too persistent for us to ignore that this is actually occurring for us. The most empowering narrative that I can speak to you here about intuition and my bold take on intuition is that it's always there and always accessible to everybody. If you are human, you are intuitive. Now, not all intuitives are feeling like they are psychic, although I do believe we can all receive psychic information from other people, but we are all intuitive, right? So intuition is receiving information about yourself, your experiences, your life, and psychic information is receiving that, but about other people. So really the delineation, it's a spectrum, but how I would categorize it to just make it easier to understand is we are receiving intuitive information, the living language of the universe, from our higher selves, our spirit team, our loved ones in spirit, and universal love, and we are receiving that information through our expansive senses. We talk about this as clairsentience, clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairaudience. So it's clear seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowing. When we receive information that way, and we acknowledge we're receiving it, thank you, universe, I acknowledge that, I receive that. Thank you for giving me this intuitive information. I'm going to move with it, act on it, receive it. Just know that when we acknowledge we receive it, we are telling the universe, I hear you. I'm part of this conversation. It's now a two-way conversation. And just like building trust with a new relationship, friendship, any sort of relationship we would build in the very human context of relationship building, we also want to do that with our intuitive senses and our intuitive signal. When we start to ask questions, receive information, get curious, get to know about the relationship, and start to make note of all the ways the trust is being shown, proven, and built, then we have this incredible flow of information that is not only available to us, but we start to map what that feels like for us in regards to our own clear senses, our own mind, body, and full lived sensory experience. It's really important that we do talk about it this way for multiple reasons. One, so often when things are not normalized early on, we believe they're not possible. But sometimes it's the belief itself of it not being possible that creates the block in the first place. So when we have conversations like this, and we start to normalize that intuition is not only possible, but so very natural, we start to remove the blocks that were there and see how things are flowing to us even when we least expect it. And you can be the healthiest skeptic. You can have the most questions. But then I would also ask you this. Why not try to access things that science is proving time and time again is very much readily available and possible to us? Unfortunately, science is catching up to the things that so many of us have known for so long. And while that's happening, while the science is catching up, while we're finding ways to showcase and prove and understand the vastness of what this human experience is, we get the opportunity to be curious, to play around with it, and to return to our intuitive signal so we can hear our own inner wisdom through the noise. This is about using your intuition and your intuitive connection for your highest good, for your expression, and from a place of love, so that you can make the ripple effects that you want to in the world. Whether it's just getting more in tune with your own life, what your soul wants to express through you while you're alive in this lifetime. Maybe it's getting curious, creative, or playful, or using this in parenthood to be able to connect with your children in a whole different way. Whatever your aim is by learning how to be in this intuitive, guided life, it's always right for you. Because you were always already enough the minute you were born, and nothing will take that away. And so now that we know that you're always already enough and intuition is available to you, you get to get curious, you get to build it, and you get to start moving through the world with the possibility that this is actually available to you. So if you're curious on how to build trust with your intuition, if you want to learn more about these practices, about some of the signs we experience when we're both listening and not listening, and if you really want to dive deeper, I invite you to visit and subscribe to my channel, to check out the videos below, and to also join me on School, where I deep dive into all of these topics, teach you real time, and return you to your inner authority. Because you are co-creating your life, and you are a sovereign being, and intuition, the bold take on intuition, is your guiding compass that is always available to you.